Hey everybody, welcome back to homerecordingmadeeasy.com and learningtomix.com. My name is David Vignola and welcome to another episode of Questions and Coffee with David. This is where I answer your questions bright and early in the morning before I start getting to work in the studio on training products and client projects, etc. And I check my Facebook, my YouTube, and my email every single day, gathering up all the questions, and then I have them in this kind of weekly video for you. So if you want one of your questions answered in an upcoming video, please send it to info@homerecordingmadeeasy.com. That's info@homerecordingmadeeasy.com, and I'll be sure to feature your question in an upcoming episode of Questions and Coffee with David. So before we get to question number one, if you like what you see in this video, hit that subscribe button below. It helps me out tremendously. Also, go out to facebook.com/homerecordingmadeeasy and follow me there. Follow me on Twitter. And if you would like some premium training as it relates to mixing to help you make better mixes in your home studio, go over to learningtomix.com and check out what I have going on over there with my good buddy and colleague, Pete Woj from mixbetternow.com. We have an awesome mixing membership training website that'll absolutely help you make better mixes in your home studio. Go check it out. We have a 30-day money-back guarantee. I think you're really going to dig it. So now that that's all out of the way, let's head on over to question number one. Okay, question number one comes from my good friend Mike. And he asks, "Hey Dave, this has been driving me nuts. In Studio One Pro, how can I select multiple events without having to click on each and every event? Isn't there a shortcut to click on the first one and then the last one and all the events get selected? Thanks for helping me if you can, Mike." Mike, well, thanks for writing in. Absolutely, there's a quick way to do this in Studio One. Let me move your question out of the way. Let me bring up Studio One here quickly. And as you can see on the screen, we are here in Studio One, and it's real simple. All you really need to do, if you want to just highlight multiple events, let's say all of these yellow events all at once, just make sure you're on your arrow tool, which is the numeral 1 on your keyboard is the shortcut, or you can go up to the toolbar here and click the arrow tool. All you have to do is left click with your mouse button and just drag across all the events you want to highlight. Release the mouse, and now you can see all of your events are highlighted. So you can do that for anything. Now, if you want to select everything in your session, all of the tracks, just do Command, or if you're on a Windows, I believe it's the Windows key and the letter A. I think that's right. Yes, and that will highlight all the events at once. So that's how you do it, Mike. It's pretty straight, pretty simple. If you have any other questions, feel free to write in. So now let's head on over to question number two. Okay, question number two comes from Brandon on YouTube, and Brandon writes in, "Hello Dave, I am preparing to record another album and I'm wondering about using an outboard compressor while tracking. The last interface I owned was a PreSonus Fire Studio. It had an insert for this, although this seems very uncommon now. I have heard people claim that you don't need an outboard compressor to track because you can simply use plugins. But aren't those plugins only going to affect the audio after it is passed through the preamps and into the DAW? I am trying to get the highest and somewhat even level without clipping into the DAW, and I'm wondering if there is a way to do it without outboard gear. Or is it necessary, and maybe I'm just stuck in the old way of thinking? I haven't been able to find a clear answer on this, and I figured you'd be the guy to ask. Thanks so much, Brandon." Well, Brandon, thanks for writing in. And yes, so there's a couple of ways you could think about this. You are absolutely right when you say that if you just use a compressor on the track in your DAW, that is going to be after the audio is already recorded. So a lot of people will record the track completely dry with no EQ, no compression, and they'll just compress it and EQ it and shape the tone afterwards. You can do that. With vocals especially, because there is such a large dynamic range, I always like to compress on the way in. Now there's a couple of ways to do it. Yes, you can use a hardware compressor. That's probably, if you have a compressor, probably the easiest way. You just run your microphone into your compressor, and sometimes you'll have a unit that'll have a preamp and a compressor built in, or run it into your then run it into your compressor, and then into your audio interface. You can do that, and then you can just control it. Just do a little bit of compression on the way in, usually around 3 dB of compression. I don't like to squash it, just to kind of even out the performance. Or depending on the interface that you have, you say you had, the last one you had was a PreSonus Fire Studio. I don't know if you've upgraded your interface since then, But if you're sticking with PreSonus, if you get something like the Studio 192, or if you get something like the Universal Audio Apollo, and then you can record through your plugins into your DAW, because they have the DSP technology inside of the box to allow you to record through the plugins just like you would a piece of hardware. So if you have that ability, that's probably the easiest way to do it. And you'll also have more variety because you'll be able to choose different types of compressors. So for example, if you're using a Universal Audio Apollo, you can use their console software where you'll record through the plugins using the Universal Audio Unison technology. And if you go out to their website, you can read all about it. It's really quite simple. And then you can choose several different types of compressors that you may want to record through. Just like if you were in an analog studio, you can have several different hardware compressors that you can record that vocal through. That's the power of the Unison technology with Universal Audio. Now with the Studio 192 with PreSonus, you can do the same thing. However, you're only limited to the stock plugins. Now with PreSonus's new updated fat channel and some of the new compressors they are doing, they now also have their version of like an 1176 and an LA2A. They have some Pultec EQ and those kinds of things. So you can record through those as well. So you can do it one of two ways. You can do it with a hardware compressor, as you're kind of alluding to, which is absolutely correct. Or if you have the right interface, you could record through the plugins into the DAW. Or, as you alluded to in your question, you can put the plugins on after the fact, but you're absolutely correct. That is post the recording already being into the DAW. So how would I do it? I would record either through plugins on the way into the DAW, because I have the audio interface that will allow me to do that using one of the PreSonus Studio Live Series 3 mixers. And when I had an Apollo by Universal Audio, I would do that as well, as opposed to having a hardware compressor. But if you don't want to make that kind of investment in the interface and the hardware, and you just want to do it quick, down and dirty and simple because you're doing it the old school way, you could get yourself a decent hardware compressor with a preamp and you could record in that way. So it's always a good idea, I feel, to record with a little bit of compression on vocals on the way in if you can, again, just to kind of even out that performance a little bit. You'll probably still have to do some compression in mixing, but you'll have to do a lot less of it. So I hope that answers your question, Brandon. If you have any other questions or if you want me to clarify even further, send me an email and I'll be sure to try to help you out. Okay, that's great. So now let's head on over to question number 3. Okay, question number 3 comes in on our YouTube channel and they ask, I don't have the name, so I apologize for that, but they're writing in and they're asking, hey Dave, great stuff. You have a new subscriber. Well, thanks so much for subscribing. Planning on the same smaller Studio Live 16 and changing from Logic to Studio One 3. At the moment, I'm using an Apollo Twin. Planning my new studio with a recording booth, etc. And I'm really interested in how I can use my Apollo stuff and the Studio Live together. Which preamps are you using to record, the PreSonus or the UAD? I use a lot of the 1073 and or the UA 610 as a unison pre's and the 1176 in the chain, mainly acoustic and electric guitar and vocals. I am very happy with the results of that the UA delivers. So I'm really wondering, how is the quality of the Studio Live pre's compared to the UAD? Well, thanks for writing in. I'm sorry I don't know your name. I wish you would have left your name, but I'll respond to this on YouTube and hopefully we'll have a dialogue back and forth. This kind of ties a little bit into the question we just did a couple of seconds ago, where you can use the Universal Audio Unison technology to record through the plugins. So your question is, what is the quality difference between the Studio Live pre's and the UAD pre's? Well, you asked the right person because I had both. I had a Universal Audio Apollo for several years. I just recently, over the last 6 months, when the Studio Live 32 Series 3 mixer came out, I purchased that to take over as the centerpiece of my studio. And I can tell you, I've compared the preamps on the Studio Live Series 3 to the preamps on the UAD Apollo, and I will tell you, to my ears, they're the same. I don't hear any difference in the preamp. If there is a difference, it's so minimal that I can't imagine that you could really hear the difference. So what I'm saying to you is the Series 3 mixer preamps, which I believe are called their Max preamps or AMAX preamps. I forget the proper terminology PreSonus uses, but they're higher end preamp that's in the Studio 192. I think they sound fantastic. I don't think they sound any less quality than the UAD in the Apollo. So that's the first thing. However, what you're suggesting here is that you use a lot of the UA plugins in the Unison technology configuration to record through your plugins. So if you do that and you like that and you like to use the Neve 1073 or the UA610, that is a fantastic way to do it. Now, you can do the same kind of thing with the Studio Live or even the Studio 192 interface, like I mentioned in the question a few minutes ago. But the difference is you can only use the PreSonus stock plugins in that kind of configuration. Now, again, PreSonus has just released their new Fat Channel with their version of an 1176 and their version of a LA2A and their version of a Pultec EQ. So they have some of these analog style plugin emulations as well. Now, the next question is going to be, how do they stack up compared to the Universal Audio? Now, I will say that the PreSonus stuff sounds fantastic. And I did a live stream about 2 months ago where you could go search it on my archive under the playlist called Livestream, where we actually compared the new analog style plugins that PreSonus released, and we compared them, A/B'd them against the Universal Audio counterparts as well as the Waves counterparts. And I will say that they all sound pretty similar. I would say that the Universal Audio plugins probably have 10%, maybe 15% better sound quality to my ears, okay? And it's very, very subjective. So I want you to understand that when I say this. I've been using Universal Audio plugins since the mid-2000s, at least 12 years, way back on the UAD1. I am very familiar and have grown accustomed to the way that their plugins sound. Their 1176s, their Fairchilds, their LA2As. The tone and the depth of those plugins are just pleasing to my ears, and I'm used to them. That does not mean that the PreSonus versions of these plugins are terrible. They're not. They're great. They're fantastic. They are leaps and bounds ahead of just a standard stock plugin. But to me, I like the Universal Audio ones a little bit better. Now, if you were in the market for buying a whole setup and you didn't have either one of these things already, what would I tell you to spend your money on? If you were into Studio One and you're into a Series 3 mixer, I would say use the PreSonus stuff. Don't go out, buy the Studio Live, and then go buy a UAD setup. But if you already have a UAD setup and you're already happy with the chain, the vocals, the signal chain that you kind of created for yourself, which you say a Neve 1073 and 1176, and you're happy with those results, I wouldn't change that. You can still use your Universal Audio interface along with your Series 3 mixer. You can absolutely do that. Studio One, when you're recording it to Studio One, you can choose one or the other interface. You can't choose two at the same time, but you could record with your Universal Audio Apollo, and then when you want to mix, you can jump on over to your Series 3 mixer. So that's the way you can do it. You can have two separate ones. If you're looking to scale down and you're looking to get rid of the Universal Audio and just dump everything into your Series 3 mixer, you can do that as well, and you can use their analog style plugins, their LA2A, their 1176, like I mentioned, and you're still going to get fantastic results. But before you do that, make sure you sit down and think about how in love are you with your Universal Audio signal chain. If you're really happy with the chain that you set up, I would suggest to keep recording through that, and you can go ahead and do that. So I hope that kind of answers your question. I think I kind of answered everything. The Apollo Twins, a great interface. The Studio Live mixers are a fantastic interface. You can do the same thing. It just becomes, what do you prefer as far as sound quality? Again, I lean towards the Universal Audio as far as the Unison technology and the quality of their plugins. And I'm only suggesting that because you already have the setup and there's no more money to be spent. But however, for people that are watching this that maybe don't already have the setup and they're saying, can I just go with the PreSonus Studio Live mixer or the Studio 192, and can I record through those plugins, their new analog style plugins? Will they sound good, or are they going to sound not really good? And I'm going to tell you, they're going to sound great. They're going to sound great. So that's kind of my answer. I hope that kind of clarifies for you. And I appreciate you writing in. If you have any other questions, be sure to email me again, and I will sure to try to clarify further. But that's how I would kind of answer this question. So now let's head on over to the last question for this episode, question number 4. Okay, question number 4 comes from my good buddy Tom on Facebook, and he writes in, "Hey buddy, all my research, and I believe that you are the man." Well, thanks, Tom. That's really cool of you, man. I appreciate your support. I've seen you on Facebook quite a bit. I appreciate you supporting everything I do. That really does mean a lot to me. Thanks so much for the kind words. Just need some direction. I am buried deep 3 years into 3 years in Cubase user, but I so bad want a PreSonus board. I know the newest one soon will be integrated with any DAW. So should I get the new one for $3,000 or should I get the PreSonus Studio Live 32.4.2 AI active integration digital mixer for $1,800? Will this fulfill my recording needs? Thanks so much. Any help would ease the pain. Well, Tom, let me see if I can help you here. So you're a Cubase user, and that's great. I used Cubase for a long time. You're not a Studio One user, but hey, that's no problem at all. Yes, the Series 3 mixers, from what I'm told, will in fact control any DAW outside of Studio One or most of the Logic, Pro Tools, Cubase. But the first release for DAW control, which is supposed to happen sometime in November, December of 2017, depending on when you're watching this video, is going to be Studio One first. The additional DAWs are going to come a few more months down the road. At least that's what I've heard. That's kind of the rumor. That's kind of what's going on. So don't be disappointed if Cubase isn't right out of the box. But the whole idea is for it to control all the major DAWs. You're absolutely correct about that. Now, the question is, do you get the 32.4 or do you get the Series 3 mixer? Well, that really depends on a couple of things. One's $3,000, one's $1,800. So if the budget isn't an issue and $3,000 is in your budget, I would say go with the Series 3 for a few reasons. One, the Series 3 mixer is going to give you more inputs, I believe, than the AI mixer. I believe you have more inputs. You also have a better DSP. You also have the ability to record with the DSP through your plugins, like we talked about a couple of the questions now about recording in kind of that Unison Technology kind of configuration to record through your plugins into the DAW with the Series 3 mixer. The Series 3 mixer has the motorized faders. I don't know if the 32.4 AI has motorized faders. I'm not sure about that. I don't have that board, so I'm not familiar with it. I know it a little bit, but I'm not too comfortable with it. The best thing you can do is go out to the PreSonus website, compare feature to feature. But I would say that the Series 3 mixers, because I had the Series 1 mixers, not the AI. I had the ones before that, and I used those for years, and those are fantastic mixers as well. This Series 3 is a quantum leap and then some ahead of those mixers. They've put everything into these new boards. And if you're thinking about a board that you're going to keep for the next 3-5 years down the road, I would say go with the Series 3 if the $3,000 is in your budget. If money's really, really tight, do you go with the 32? Will it fulfill all your recording needs? I believe it will. You just got to double check the inputs on that. I think it's a 32.4. It must be 32 mic pre's on it. I just don't know about all of the rest of the technology. More of the stuff that's under the hood to make it a more powerful mixer. The Series 3 is going to be a better mixer for you. Plus, I don't believe the AI mixers will control Studio One as a surface control. I know the CSI mixers, again, and forgive me because I don't own all these products, but go out to the PreSonus website. I don't believe the AI mixers are surface control. I believe that's the CS mixers, I think they're called, but those mixers are just a surface control. There's no recording inputs on them. I think you may have to buy additional stage boxes and those kinds of things. So it's more involved, okay? So what I'm saying to you is if you're looking for something that you want to have 32 inputs to record, you want something that's going to eventually control your Cubase or Studio One or whatever, your DAW, then the Series 3 is the way to go. It's got more technology under the hood. It's got the better DSP. It's got more features and more usable things that you're going to be able to do that you could not do on the 32.4.2 AI mixer. It is a next step. It's a next evolution of the Series 3 of the PreSonus Studio Live mixers. And that would be my recommendation. If you can afford to spend it and you're looking for a longer term investment, I would go with the Series 3 mixer. If money's really tight, then I would go on their website, compare the features, and really sit down and think about what do you need to use this mixer for? In your studio, live, band rehearsals, whatever. What are the most important features to you? And just make sure on PreSonus's website that they have all those features. And the last thing I would tell you to do is go out to the PreSonus user forum and post your question there and talk to people that own that 32.2.4, because there are people out there that own it and they'll be able to tell you better maybe than myself, because I don't own that mixer. I just know a little bit about it. But as I said, I owned the first series before that mixer. I had the 24.2.4, what they're calling now the classic mixer. And going from that to the Series 3 is a massive leap forward. And for me personally, like you, the Series 3, really for me, the big selling point was the fact that it's going to be a surface control for my DAW. More so than the recording aspect, although the recording aspect of these mixers are fantastic as well. So thanks, Tom, for writing in. I hope I answered your question. If not, again, you want more for clarification, hit me up on Facebook and I'll take care of you. We'll hook up and we'll get you straightened out. But that's my opinion up to this point. So thanks so much for writing in. And that is it for this episode of Questions and Coffee with David. Once again, if you want your question answered in an upcoming video, email me at info@homerecordingmadeeasy.com and I'll be sure to get your question in an upcoming episode. And once again, go to homerecordingmadeeasy.com, check out the Made Easy series, the Quick Mix series. Tons of training to help you make better mixes, masters, and recordings in your home studio. And for the guy or gal who really wants to get into the world of mixing, down deep dive, and really wants to improve their mixing chops, as well as join a community of like-minded people who are really all trying to get better at the craft of mixing, I urge you to go over to learningtomix.com and check out what I have going on over there with Pete Woj from mixbetternow.com. We have a 30-day money-back guaranteed, super affordable, awesome community of people, and it will absolutely help you be a better mixing engineer, regardless of what level that you are at. So until next time, this has been Dave with Home Recording Made Easy and learningtomix.com, and I will speak to you guys all soon. Take care.